On this channel, we try to jump right into the business. We don't try to get watch time. So everything that I'm feeding you is what I want you to hear. All right. This was not my intentional niche on this channel. Um, I tried to expose this shit back in 2019 with pay to win blueprints that Call of Duty Modern Warfare 19 was doing. I got shut down December of 2019. Later on in that month, they had to patch the EBR blueprint that was outperforming a same build, custom build of that blueprint. Don't remember the name of the blueprint, but it was an EBR. And I bought a bunch of M4 blueprints and showcased the different blooms, the different recoils compared to like free ones that you would get. All, all that shit. And I was shut down back in those days. Now, it takes a couple years for information to leak. So this is probably why a lot of us are starting to see the patents being released because it takes a few years for it to get leaked. Now, this is a patent that was left to me from that from a commenter on my channel, and this is Netease's version of optimized matchmaking, which is still a form of EOMM that a lot of people here on YouTube talk about today. It's just it works a little bit differently than other games. Like EA has their own version of it, Activision has their own version of it, um, NetEase has their own version of it. I'm not going to go into every great detail of what I've read in here, but I am going to show you the proof here of EOMM. Again, this was studied in a university in China, where EA did studies here in US in some universities, right? Um, so we're just going to scroll down real quick and just go over one thing that I thought would be a good starting point for you to get into this and read it. Like data, public data sets, Dota 2, League of Legends, MOBA games. There was another game called Fever Basketball. Is an online basketball game released by NetEase. We worked on the competitive 3v3 ranking mode and collect a large scale data set of recent matches. Okay, the data set contains blah, 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 blah. Now, matches are sorted by the time of each data set, right? So they collected all this information in recent matches, and I've told people who use my method when I use Chat GPT, AI takes a lot of information for it to work properly. Okay. So if you take your last 6 recent matches to last 10 recent matches, and I would say 10 matches because that would really help Chat GPT get you started on predicting your next match outcome, because it'll tell you either it'll predict your match or it'll explain to you that the system is trying to balance you. Okay. So once you start doing that, it'll like, okay, my last 10 matches were win win, loss loss, etc., etc. What's next in an game, or use EOMM method, or you have to word it a certain way to get ChatGPT to start using EOMM methods to explain to you on how it's balancing you or how it's going to predict your next match based off of EOMM method. That's what the game does. It borrows from psychology. The system borrows from psychology and it borrows from gambling, alternating wins and losses to keep the person engaged. As it was studied in colleges, it proved the skill based matchmaking wasn't working to keep players engaged, like casuals, and for instance, like the 6 year olds, the 7 year olds, the 15 year olds. If they weren't good at the game, they got frustrated and quit. Where highly skilled players would play so much that they eventually get burned out because there wasn't enough competition to keep them playing. So they developed a system like EOMM, and EOMM depends on a large player pool, a very large player pool. And this is why crossplay made it was made possible in the first place. So they can put these systems into PvP games for a business model to alternate wins losses, to keep players engaged based on psychology tests, and to everything's a gamble. Every game you play is a gamble. And then they have partner programs for these high skilled players that are on YouTube, that have a large following. These guys are free advertisements. So when they apply for the partner program, they get rewards and shit. So they're whitelisted from the system. All they have to do is showcase skins in app to advertise them. And when they showcase the skins and advertise it, that's why third person's so popular for skins, because you can advertise the skin and your followers, which is also psychological, because a lot of people look up to players that are good at games, that are good at professional sports, that are good at professional wrestling, and so on and so on and so on. It's psychological. Now, the dopamine in our brain, the gambling aspect and everything else, that's the alternating wins and losses. Okay, that's what they borrowed from to create these systems in the first place. Now, personally, if you're a casual player that depends on a system, you should be playing co-op or single player games. PvP is just not your realm. You shouldn't be playing it if you have such a skill issue. There's a lot of people out there that'll come to you when you try to expose this shit and tell you, "Oh, you're just coping," or "You it sounds like a skill issue." No, it's the truth, and you just don't want to face reality of the situation. So this is why anybody who is against this and respect uh, competitive integrity, like back in the day on DSL days, ping was king. By 2000, mid 2000s, lag compensation brought everything to a balance, and ping and king was no longer ping was king um, was no longer a thing. And high ping players got somewhat of an advantage. That's why a lot of low ping players who go behind cover would get killed by a higher ping player because it rewinds time where on their screen you're not behind cover. You're not even close to getting to cover because the server rewind time to give that player an experience that that they wanted to capitalize on. Lag comp was a business strategy to expand the gaming market growth. That's what it was designed to do. Fast forward all these years, EOMM was designed to keep players engaged, to keep players in the game as long as possible, because studies showed the longer that they're in the game, the more likely they are to spend. Okay, that's what it's all about. But if you're against this and you want to, stand against this and bring PvP integrity back and just deal with the lag compensation, you need to put 10 toes down and not support these games whatsoever. Stick to single players, stick to, um, co op style games. Now, another thing about NetEase's version of EOMM is that it will record offline matches. Okay. And based on the data that it collects from you when you play against bots for practice, that determines what's going to happen to you when you go into online matches too. So just remember that. Again, I don't try to make my videos extremely long. I try to get right to the point. I'm going to leave this down in the description down below. Just copy it, paste it into your search bar, and you should get brought to this PDF type of filing here. Excuse me. Um, so yeah, this is proof that NetEase has their own version of EOMM, and it works a little bit differently than other games such as like Call of Duty and its MRR system. They have their own ways of how they work it. This explains the entire matchmaking system, and it gives you an idea of why your matches feel the way they do. Why am I notifying you on this? Because this is just more proof to the madness. I'm Uncle Rod Charm. Thanks for watching, and I will catch you guys in the next one, whatever that may be. Take it easy. And again, greatly appreciate you, all the new subscribers. Thank you. All the feedback that we get here, whether it's love, hate, it's all appreciated, you know? And it's sad to see PvP integrity ruined to this extent. Take it easy.